There's no doubting the fact that the UFC has become increasingly politically correct. The boundary keeps getting pushed out and out and out. During this video, I'm going to talk about one guy, an unexpected dude who I'd never thought and never imagined would come out and just blatantly say no. He's got no interest in partaking in it. He exposes ex-UFC champions and current commentators and their blatant willingness to be politically correct, toe the line, and promote the message. You would think that an organization like the UFC, being so broad-minded, having the likes of a Donald Trump attend fights on a regular basis, having the likes of a Conor McGregor, Colby Covington, Sean Strickland talking out at will, you would think that that would encourage so many people to talk out, tell the truth, and actually look across the platforms, look across social media and see some of the loudest voices in the world, some of the richest people in the world right now just don't give a anymore. When their handlers or when their owners try to rein them in, try to pull back on their free speech, you know what they say?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f yourself. Go f yourself. Is that clear?
I posted a video for Trump, right, on my personal social media. And one of our big sponsors called and said, take that down. You know what I said? Go fuck yourself. Yeah. Well, fuck you. Yeah. Don't ever fucking call me and tell me who to vote for.
And rightly so. When I started this YouTube channel, it was all about calling out the truth. I would look at people that were in a very prominent position in the UFC or MMA in general. I would look at these people and I couldn't understand why and how it was that they couldn't just see an objective truth and say it. And after so many videos and covering the same sort of shillery over and over again, propaganda followed by gaslighting followed by propaganda, you get to the stage where you're like, okay, I get it. Trying to make a living, you're trying to provide for your family. And it's just not comfortable to settle with that sort of explanation. Because at the end of the day, it's us, the community, the people that you're there to provide a service to. We're the ones that you're spitting in the face of. We're the ones that can understand the overt truth and then have to put up with your gaslighting. It gets to the stage where we say, okay, why? Can we just stop with the political correctness? Can we just stop with this bullshit? This week was another perfect example. Coming off the back of the Sean Strickland, Dricus du Plessis, Ian Gary fiascos, we have people like Ariel Helwani pushing and driving the narrative to stop and stun people's free speech. Something must be done, this guy says. This is coming from a guy who can't stand the community where he works. He hates the majority of MMA fans because they don't hold the same political allegiances as him. You're a piece of dirt, especially to these like far left progressive guys like him and Luke Thomas. These guys are on record, especially Luke Thomas, saying that he can't stand the community. He can't stand the fandom. And if he was to direct someone to an educated sports fandom or someone that was passionate or just loved their sport in general, he wouldn't be pointing them towards MMA fans. That's absolutely vile and disgusting that we have to put up with these people in a position of power talking about our sport. And they're under the illusion, this politically correct progressive illusion, that you have to toe the line and you can't speak out and you can't say overt truths. And they all abide by it and they all stick to it. So you have your Ariel Helwanis, your Luke Thomases. Now you have the majority of the ex-fighters who have YouTube channels with a big following and they're all pushing the same message. When is it too far? So the conversation has arisen whether the trash talk has gone too far or not. And when you listen to the examples used by each and every one of these guys that are under the thumb essentially, you kind of see a little pattern play out. So we're going to have a little look at the Laura Sanko interview on Michael Bisping. I'm going to pull out two clips that I have highlighted. We'll have a little talk about that and then we'll jump over and we'll have a little look at the unexpected hero of the day. Okay, let's have a little look at this.
I like the creativity of attacking the fighter himself. Fine, you want to call him a pussy, you want to call him that, blah blah blah. Like I'm not innocent in that way, but you have to quit bringing in third parties who have very little or if nothing to do with what's going on. And I'm not necessarily even like saying that Ian Gary's situation is blameless because he did that to other people. It's like become this giant, everyone is a huge hypocrite.
Good point. She does point out the fact that Ian Gary is a hypocrite, so I'll give her credit where credit is due 100%. But the fact is, you'll see all these ex-fighters that have huge YouTube channels now talking about this being too far, and you just shouldn't talk about wives and kids. And when you talk about the situation of someone's wives, I think Dustin Poirier got it between the two eyes from Conor McGregor.
Your wife is in me DMs, hey baby, hit me back on my chat later on.
I think Chael Sonnen went after Tito Ortiz because his wife was an adult star and he went after her. But
always says I'm using my mouth to get my opportunities. The only person I know that made money using their mouth is his ex-wife.
These were brief instances. This wasn't a common occurrence. This doesn't happen with your general UFC two guys talking shit back and forth in a press conference. So you do get to a situation where everyone across the board, the consensus is now, well, you shouldn't talk about people's wives and you shouldn't talk about people's children. That's crossing a line. Now, I'm not here to give my opinion on whether that's crossing a line or not. I'm here to point out the hypocrisies of that statement, because it seems to be okay for certain people to say this stuff. It seems to be okay for other people not to even venture into that sort of vicinity. And if you see the guys that seem to be getting highlighted for saying this shit about wives and kids and everything like that, they're usually the guys that don't follow the narrative, critically think, and kind of push back against the system and the message. Sean Strickland, Colby Covington. Colby Covington comes out and calls Jorge Masvidal a deadbeat dad. All of a sudden, the media, like it's all a hive mind, get together and we have to condemn people talking about people's children. And that's the narrative. Then it gets used as justification for jumping someone outside a restaurant from behind.
You don't talk about people's families. You don't talk about the kids, and you don't talk about their wives, especially with a guy like Jorge Masvidal.
It's all the comments, guys. Oh, he didn't say anything about his family. What I mean is this: if he didn't say anything about his kids, what he said was things that would interrupt a family lifestyle. That's what you guys have to remember.
What the fuck is this?
I don't mean to be pedantic. I don't mean to be like a Layla and Ali coming out using the word context over and over again. But there's a difference between attacking someone's kids, like specifically pointing them out and really humiliating them, and talking about their father's relationship with them. I know it's about context and I know it's pedantic, but that's really it. I never heard Colby Covington mention Jorge Masvidal's kids by name. I never heard him say a bad thing about whatever way they looked or spoke or anything like that. That's disgusting. Who would do that? And I think we all agree that that is bullshit. There's a difference between saying someone's a terrible father, which Jorge Masvidal went on to prove that he was, because he got arrested numerous times, numerous firearms getting floated around in his house where his kids are, people being arrested for shooting people, all that sort of stuff. Is it not just telling the truth by Colby Covington? When you talk about Sean Strickland going after people's wives, now as I said, they're isolated events, Conor McGregor, Chael Sonnen, but going after Layla and Ali, Ian Gary's wife, is not the same as a general, normal, stereotypical UFC fighter going after some guy's wife. That doesn't happen. That literally does not happen. People do not like see videos on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever, and the wife is like cruising along in the background carrying the baby and automatically think, oh man, I'm gonna attack his wife and like comment on her appearance. That just doesn't happen. Ian Gary's wife is a self-proclaimed wag. She has written a book on it, satirical or not, whatever you want to believe, that's fine. She's also a person who has interjected and inserted herself into the fight game. So there's no lies or defamation been uttered when we say things like the UFC star Ian Gary speaks whatever he's told to speak, wears whatever he's told to wear, says and writes online whatever he's told to write online. This is not like breaking news or any sort of defamation. This is overt. We can see it with our own eyes. So when we have a narcissistic person craving attention more than anything else, wanting all the cameras and the heat on them, and repeatedly inserts themselves into the middle of a UFC career, and by default, the shit talk that happens between fighters, that's not the same as a UFC fighter randomly talking shit about someone's wife. So I just want to point out the context between the wife and the children, and in terms of crossing lines. And if you think about it, as I said, Ariel Helwani, Luke Thomas, and now every fighter all seem to be on the same page of pushing this theory of there needs to be repercussions, there needs to be something done by the UFC to stop this trash talk. And for me, it's extremely hypocritical.
The way that people talk shit now in the game has changed. And I think, you know, you've got people out there saying there isn't a line. Well, there is a line, because you don't see these guys using racial slurs. They would never, because they know better, right? It's territory. It's a line we do not cross.
Let's go. What's up? Let's go. Yeah. What's up?
Fucking cracker.
This is a very interesting point in terms of the racial line. There is this like obligatory line that never gets crossed in terms of racial slurs being thrown at each other. And these are fighters who are about to get into a cage and try to knock the other person out, and they're going to have to be stopped by a referee before they kill them, right? So that's the context of what we're talking about in terms of a back and forth here. And they never go near a racial line unless you're the second most famous UFC fighter on the planet, Israel Adesanya. Then it's okay to be racial, right?
Fucking cracker.
And I never heard Laura Sanko or anyone else call that out. There always seems to be a line that can be crossed, but it has to be crossed by someone of Israel Adesanya's skin tone. It can never be the inversion of that. And you'll see this adage a lot online where it's like, if a black man wants to marry a black woman, listen to rap music, and hang out with all these black friends at a barbecue, what would you call that? Well, you'd call it a normal black guy. If a white guy wants to marry a white woman and only hang out with his white friends and listen to some European classical music, what would you call him? Well, he'd be a Nazi and a racist, right? So you have that dichotomy that has to be spoken about in terms of the racial lines. So whilst Laura Sanko says that there is a racial line that never gets crossed, well, it does really, because Israel Adesanya can do it, Bilal Muhammad can do it, and many, many more fighters can do it. As long as they have the right skin tone. That's perfectly fine. So everything that's said here is kind of null and void because the arguments that you're making don't really match up. And to my recollection, I could be completely wrong. If there is a UFC fighter who targeted another fighter's kids, specifically pointed them out, humiliated them, made them cry on national TV, and then said,
So I did him a favor. I did that kid a favor. Now he has a life lesson that he can hold on to forever and just remember that. I'm glad I did it. Fuck them kids. Fuck them kids. Fuck them kids.
That's gross.
And we know that he's exempt from criticism, right? He's allowed to say whatever he wants in terms of lines that never get crossed by anybody else. They wouldn't even go near them. But Israel can. That's fine. And he can attack people's kids live on TV. That's fine. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. Colby said that Jorge was a deadbeat dad. Disgusting and vile, and we have to talk about it till the end of time. Strickland spoke about Ian Gary's wife, and to be honest with you, she's probably got a bigger presence and an aura about her as a UFC star than Ian Gary. More people know who she is than they know who he is. I think it's hypocrisy, and it has to be called out. And one person that was calling out this week, and I thought it was so funny, was Ben Askren. So Cormier was following the party political line, and he was trying to condemn all this trash talk and condemn everything about Sean Strickland going after Ian Gary, or whether it was okay for Ian Gary to come back hot on Sean Strickland and just talk about the drama in general, but in a very PG way. He doesn't want any of the truth to be spoken about, and we can see it here. Ben Askren goes off script, starts talking about the WAG book, actually purchases the book live on the podcast, and Daniel Cormier cannot handle it.
How to be a WAG. Okay, do you know what WAG stands for, Daniel?
It's like wife of an athlete.
Wives and girlfriend. Wives and girlfriend.
It's crazy. But
Layla Ann Lee is a celebrity guru mingling with the wags.
If your wife, Ben, then what would you say? You'd be mad.
Who's going after my wife? What are they going after her for?
But I'm saying if there was something and he went after her, you'd be mad at him.
Nah.
That's why he feels like he's going after Sean.
I mean, like, does my wife deserve to be gone after? Did she write a book called How to Be a Wag? Because if she wrote a book called How to Be a Wag, you know what I'd say? You kind of deserve it. You kind of wrote this book. Like, it's not even like she deleted it from the internet. I can go buy it on Amazon right now.
Absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Daniel was trying to be diplomatic and politically correct. Ben Askren shut him down, kept saying it. And dude, he goes on and he actually buys it. Let me just flick forward.
Don't buy it.
Yes, I'm going to listen to it.
Buy it right now. Buy it right now.
I'm buying it right now.
Let me see.
I just bought it.
My God.
I'm going to listen. It's going to be so great. I'm going to be having lines. I got lines, bro.
So that's the spirit from Ben Askren. That's what we're all looking for. Someone to cut through the bullshit, cut through the political correct crap, and actually just say it how it is. Have a laugh about it. And I think everyone would be far happier if they just got on with it and actually looked and saw that the consensus of people want the truth to be told, not to tippy-toe around everything. It's actually beyond annoying for the common person who tunes into MMA or tunes into football or whatever it is, and you see this bullshit politically correct stuff. It's unbearable at this stage. Read the room, speak out as much as you can, and just get on with it. Call this shit out for what it is. Let me know your thoughts down below.